3 years after the Louisiana incident, Ethan Winters and his 4-10 wife Mia move to Europe to settle down and have a kid. Chris Redfield finds out about this, and since Leon won't continue his family bloodline, seeks out and kidnaps Ethan's daughter and kills his wife. In a failed kidnapping attempt, though, the truck they're being transported in is attacked, and Ethan, what the hell Winters, ends up in Universal Studios to find his daughter and get answers.
Yeah.
Hello, and welcome to the Point in Progress Resident Evil review discussion. My name is Custer1A, and I am joined by my hetero life partner, that Mario Rivera. Mario, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing swell. This is a great day. Let's talk about Resident Evil.
Hell yeah. We're also joined by our other co-host, Beard in the Hair, though he's more hair than beard at the moment. Hugh, how are you doing today?
I would have put a little behind the curtains thing. We've done this 3 times, and every time it fucking hurts.
You agreed to this. I asked, is this intro cool? You're like, yeah.
And also, Mia's not worth it.
Mia's not worth it.
True. That is the 4th time we've heard that phrase.
Yeah, for sure.
So enough of the scripted stuff. Let's get right into it. Our first point of conversation with Resident Evil is going to be a spoiler-free impression. So for anybody here who hasn't played any of Resident Evil 8 or 7, and we'll talk about 7, but who hasn't played any Resident Evil 8, you kind of just want to get a general impression of what we think about the game. This is going to be that part. So I'm going to start with Harv. What do you think about the game? What would you kind of quantify with a number? What are your general impressions?
Quantifying it, I don't know yet, but right now we'll talk about the game itself. I think the game is awesome. I think it's worth it. If you're a Resident Evil fan, I think this is a very good play. Like, I feel like the direction is good. Just like Resident Evil 7, I feel like the front half, maybe even the front 70% of it is really, really, really good. Like, it is probably Resident Evil at its best. Mm-hmm. Especially one of the parts that we're going to talk about. I think it's just immaculate, in my opinion. It starts getting away from the Resident Evil formula a little bit as you progress through the game. Mainly because when I think Resident Evil, I think a claustrophobic area where you are stuck inside of a place and trying to run away, right? Mm. As the world kind of opens up a little bit, not like open world or anything, just opens up a little bit, that feeling kind of goes away and it just everything just becomes a little bit more easier. And playing on hardcore was, I think, a blessing for me because it really kind of gave you like that feeling of I don't have that many bullets. I don't know what I'm going to do here, because I've seen people play it on normal and they have like 90 shotgun bullets or handgun bullets, and you're just like, well, that feeling is just not there, right? But in my opinion, I think this is a solid game. If I would have to put a score, maybe like an 8.5. 8, probably 8.5 was probably where I would put it. Yeah, I think this is a solid entry when it comes to the Ethan Winter Chronicles.
The Ethan Winter Chronicles, I like that. I like that a lot. Mario, give us your thoughts, man.
Yeah, I mean, there's some definitely things I do agree with Harv. I think that hardcore is definitely much more of a kick in the ass when it comes to the action department. I will say, though, if you are playing on normal, it's still just as scary in terms of the parts that matter. So, and for me, which is interesting because now I'm playing through it the second time, I'm at the very end, I'm going to fight Miranda. I'm sorry, whoever the person is. Fuck it, it's Miranda. Basically, I really, really, really enjoy a lot what this game has to say and what it's doing in terms of where it is in this world of Resident Evil, in terms of this sort of like evolution of what the last one was. I feel like the series began very similar to where it was very much a love letter to, say, like Romero zombie movies, but had like this like interesting thing with like European like structure in terms of like design of like the mansion, right? But then later goes into the city. And then as the series has gone along, has definitely expanded itself past zombies in a lot of aspects. And I thought that this was a fun evolution of that, especially starting with 7. 7 being sort of this like Blair Witch mixed with like some entity, like sort of like quarantine mixed in with like there's so much going on where it's like separate from just zombies that I thought made 7 very interesting and probably one of the most terrifying experiences I've had. And I will say that. I will say 7 is actually scarier than 8. 8 is scary, but I think 7 is just way more visceral in terms of the feelings that you get. 7 to me, or 8 to me, is actually a love letter to the Universal, which is Universal Studios movies, where they had Dracula, Frankenstein, the Wolfman. All the archetypes are actually in this game, very distinctly, and I'll talk about that during the spoiler discussion. But I think overall, I enjoyed the game for what it was, which just felt like a theme park ride, going from one theme park to the next. But I still think that overall, I think the game, in terms of of being a scary game, I think I still give that the 7. But yeah, I still really, really enjoy this game. Minus some of my critiques about the main character, but other than that, that's generally how I feel.
Yeah, no. In terms of me, I absolutely love this game. It's not very often that you get a Resident Evil game, and it's always interesting to see how they innovate from their last title to the next one in terms of just they kind of invented the wheel. I know there was games before Resident Evil, games like Clock Tower, games like some on the NES, if I remember correctly, but Resident Evil kind of cemented the survival horror genre, that it's here and it's here to stay. And it's very interesting to see just how they innovate with that with their games throughout that the series. 8 feels very different. It feels kind of like, in the way Resident Evil 7 kind of felt different, where it felt like they were kind of going for a more survival horror thing, in terms of like Outlast, or sorry, excuse me, I got something about.
Oh no, he's turning into the molded.
The Mango Pepsi.
Yeah. Sponsorship by Mango Pepsi.
No, my mouth is getting dry here. What was I saying? Yeah, so like in terms of like the rest of the game, it feels very much like more like an Outlast.
Sure.
And stuff like that, and Amnesia. And you can tell Capcom kind of looked at more of other people's works and kind of said, hey, this is what the people in the survival horror genre want. All right, they want to see scary things. Resident Evil at the time was kind of devolving into this more like action-packed thing. So when it came to 8, I was just like, man, this feels like a survival horror game. And throughout the game, I mean, even though some parts aren't really that scary, some parts are very like hit and miss when it comes to that category. Yeah. There is a definite amount of love and care into certain parts that will actually scare the living shit out of you. I mean, I play games like Outlast for fun, and there are parts of this game where I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of breezing through this right now because I don't want to deal with it. And in terms of like stuff like Gunplay and everything like that, it feels good. To the point where I kind of want to see Capcom maybe do a Call of Duty like game in the future. But yeah, that's my kind of small 2 cents there.
The gameplay is like really, really good. I think they nailed the shooting mechanics. I think they nailed the puzzles for the most part. I think the puzzles are really, really good, especially on some of the parts. And when Mario said like evolving from zombies, I like the zombies. I miss the zombies. But the thing that brought it back for me was like the little minion monsters that you face.
Sure.
On like when you're going from the second area and you're going back to like the village area, and you just see they just drop out of trees and stuff like that. That reminded me of old zombies. Like those guys reminded me of the old zombies, just kind of getting past kind of type thing. And I was like, okay, I can work with that, because like there's a lot of other enemies in there, like a little different boss types, a lot of different enemies and stuff like that. But I'm glad they kept like that little core thing, because it kind of reminded me of the old school zombies. Yeah, that would just be lurking around.
And how those characters like evolve throughout the story too. Once you get to Heisenberg, it's definitely interesting. Yeah. But yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and then just to close out what I thought, the game has the Resident Evil feel, but they've somehow put it into a very solid FPS as well. And not a lot of games can say they can do that. Like keep the survival horror feel, but also be an FPS, because at some point with most FPS survival horror games, you just become OP and you're just taking everything down. Where even towards the later game, it still feels like some of these enemies are actually hard to take down.
Well, because you're always scared.
You're always scared.
Always scared.
Right? Because like you don't have that much heals, right? Mm-hmm. And like if something hits you, half your health is gone anyways. So like you have to be still very vigilant on how you go through the areas.
And you don't know what's ahead of you, and you don't know what you're going to trigger, and you don't know that like it's that constantly drives me nuts when I was playing the game.
And people give shit to Resident Evil for going in this direction, because they're like, where's the zombies and stuff like that. I think the idea that when you see a zombie, right, in Resident Evil, you see a licker, you kind of have an idea where that starts and where it ends. And when you see the monsters in Resident Evil 8, you know anything's fucking possible at this point. Like, you do not know what kind of monster you're getting next. And we'll talk about that, obviously, with more of the spoiler stuff, because there's one monster in particular I'm like, what the fuck, dude? Why? Why is this in the game? But yeah, we all liked it. If I could give it a number, I'm gonna go with Harv here. I'm gonna get an 8.5 out of 10. I think there's some parts of it that are not perfect, but I absolutely still adored every second of this game.
Yeah. Honestly, the biggest problem I had in the game was the first 30 minutes of it. I hated the first 30 minutes of this game.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
that's
at the point, I was like,
about.
this is just stupid. And then once it started getting into everything, I was like, okay, I can forget about I like, by the end of the game, I forgot about the first 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's stressful. The first 30 minutes are very stressful. That's my recommendation. Don't skip the first 30 minutes if you can.
Or
try to
get behind a door, aim at a hole, and then just feed it.
Oh, really?
And just
There's a way
feed
to
it.
cheese it? Okay.
Yeah. Well, if you have unlimited ammo, of course you can.
Oh, okay.
I mean, yeah.
But yeah, for sure.
All right, let's move into the nitty gritty. So if you have not played Resident Evil 8, you do not want to hear anything about what happens in the story. We've already bleeped out what Mario said earlier.
I did. I bleeped that
final
out.
Boss.
Yeah, I bleeped it out.
Please do not watch the rest of this video or watch the rest of this until you have completed Resident Evil 8 and you actually want to hear what we have to say. But if you are here, I'm going to assume that you don't care or you've already finished Resident Evil 8. So, guys, first and foremost, we're going to kind of talk about the story. I think a good first topic of discussion, at least for right now, is how Resident Evil's kind of changed from its zombie roots, right? Because this game is wildly different from that, and a lot of people are really confused because people think Resident Evil, you think zombie game, right? You think zombies and maybe a little biomutant stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
where's the Agent T, or not Agent T? Like, what's the virus? What's the big virus?
T-virus?
It's the T virus, and there's also a different virus that brings
C-virus?
all the big guys. Yeah, like, where's the G virus looking person in this game?
yeah,
right?
where's the
like
Mr. X?
Yeah, there's always like either Nemesis or Mr.
Well,
X or something like that.
There is in the game. It's just different. You know, like
it's just different.
We'll get to that.
Yeah,
But like when people see this game right now, they see hot, tall vampire lady.
Yeah, they do.
Werewolves and like Black Lagoon monsters, and this looks wildly different from any other normal Resident Evil game. Which, even with 7, they did the same thing.
Yeah, they did.
I'm gonna start with Mario on this. Mario, how do you feel about the change Resident Evil's kind of made from those roots, and kind of still maybe even talk about how it still kind of retained them in some ways?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, I think even though the series began with as a zombie, sort of survival game, it always had something to do with science. It always had something to do with some sort of virus or some sort of thing that caused the thing to happen, right? And I think this game stayed true to that, especially by the time that you get towards the end and you start finally unfearing why the hell is this happening at all. And it ties back to AKA the old original dude Spencer himself, which is fantastic. And so it's all connected in that way.
That was mind blowing to me at the end when you're in that basement area.
Yeah.
And like, one thing was kind of crazy is when you read the notes there and it told you what was wrong with all 4 of them.
Yes.
And why they had the abilities. And then seeing the Umbrella logo on like the wall, and it's just like, and then seeing like it's from Spencer.
That's where the logo came from. That's why Spencer used it in the Spencer estate.
The fact that there is a part in the middle of the game where you're running through a gauntlet from Heisenberg, and it's awesome, by the way. I was like, I love that scene where there is like a roof of spikes is coming down, and I'm like, that seems very familiar. And of course I immediately thought as like, that definitely is coming from Resident Evil 1, right? It's something that he clearly took and applied it to his own, real estate. And, because he must have been really infatuated with this place. I thought that was genius. I thought the fact that that's how they were able to tie it in and sort of make this the progenitor to the progenitor virus in some aspects. Even though they are separate, which is cool. I do like that they are still separate things, it looks like. But at the same time, they are still intrinsically tied. But yeah, in terms of the roots, that's where I like that the connection is still there. Like, even though we have werewolves, vampire ladies, Black Lagoon person, someone who's basically a Frankenstein character that's creating these like Frankenstein monsters, these are all intrinsically tied to science and how they're explained. Very much in the similar to a movie that I watched. This game is so intrinsically tied to not only the Universal movies, but it's also intrinsically tied to two other movies. One is called Transylvania 65000, which is literally just a parody of Transylvania films about explaining why like the Wolfman has hair, because he has a disease that makes him grow hair. That's why he's covered in stuff like that. Or like, she needs blood because she's anemic or whatever it ends up being. Like, it's just super jokey and hilarious. But also tied to another film called Nothing But Trouble, starring Dan Aykroyd and Chevy Chase, where it's very much a haunted house that has all these like weird eclectic characters and you're trying to escape. Like, it's all these things. And I think that's what made the game so much fun and live in that world, because it had that veneer of the Universal, like everything's sort of blue gray for the most part, like it just felt like you're in a Transylvanian world. There's the hag that is like the lady that you talk to. That is, we find out later who that person is. But yeah, I think that the connections to the roots of zombies is, while in certain places, I still think that the root of RE entirely is in this game.
And I definitely agree with a lot of that.
Yeah.
Especially the whole castle thing.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Spencer being like part of being within that world. It's very reminiscent to like Resident Evil 1, where you think, oh, why would somebody have all these weird contraptions and stuff like that for these doors, and why do we have spikes coming down from the ceilings? And it's like, oh, he might have stole it off of Castle Dimitrescu, or even like Heisenberg's creations. Like, that's insane to think. Like, there's some roots to the madness.
Yeah, 100%. No, 100%. Did he actually have something to do with also the police station? I'm trying to remember.
I believe that was a Wesker thing. I think he was just training soldiers so that he had like the really good people to like experiment on these BOWs to see if they can take.
I meant in terms of the architecture of the actual building itself.
Oh,
because
if I remember correctly, isn't the police station just like a restructured museum or something?
I think so. Yeah.
What, in 2?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, the police station was a museum. Yeah. They turned into a police station. That's why there's a lot of art and a lot of statues and stuff there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That's the thing. Like that's what I liked about this game a lot, is because especially Lady Dimitrescu's mansion reminded me so much of the mansion in Resident Evil 1 and the police station in Resident Evil 2. You put those two things together, and that's her entire area. It's like that.
Yeah.
And that's what I really, really enjoyed.
Yeah, she is your Mr. X. She's your nemesis in this game.
Yeah.
For the most part, which is great, because that's what everybody wanted. Everyone wanted to be chased by the big tall vampire lady, and you got it.
you got what you wanted.
Yes,
you have. But yeah, I do agree. Like, there's so many good connections within this, and I feel, even Harv said it earlier with some of the monster types, like, it still retains that feeling of zombies coming at you. They just look a little bit different. Yeah. And at the end of the day, it still is Resident Evil, because it's just a virus. You know what I mean? There's still a veil to be, like, shown off, and you'll see what's really kind of going on. But it's the fun of, why the hell do we have werewolves and tall vampire ladies and weird Black Lagoon monsters, like, until you get
ghouls,
to that part. That's the fun of it.
Ghouls in the basement that jump at you in blood.
And blood. Yeah.
And that's also kind of always been the root of Resident Evil when you think about it, because it's always been like, you go in, you don't know what the fuck is going on, and then you're slowly unraveling what is going on. Yeah. And this game still holds true to that idea as well. Yeah. I think it does it too late in the game, but still, I agree with you.
Especially when you start looking at notes and stuff like that, right? There's things all over if it's got nothing to do with how to solve a puzzle, it's always something to do with the lore that's happening either in the castle or in the house. But I forgot what the name was.
Benevento.
Yeah, Benevento house, or in like wherever you're going, right?
Yeah, Heisenberg or Monroe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I guess we already talked about the other talking part, which is basically the connection to other Resident Evil games. This is kind of, we don't really still don't know where in the universe this takes place. Well, I guess we do.
We know the year.
It's post 5
present.
at least.
It's present.
Yeah.
It's the most present story as far as I'm concerned.
It's the most present story. Yeah.
Well,
Like,
Because
until the end.
Resident Evil 7 was based in 2017.
Until the end, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, when does that take place? Well, we can talk about that,
At least
obviously. Yeah.
15, 16 years, I guess.
It's got to be like 15 years.
Unless she ages faster. I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, it's still kind of in its own smaller little, like, we know kind of where it is, but we don't know how long time has been and stuff like that. It's just kind of weird. But first question I got for you guys here. Let's talk about the protagonist really quick. I know we have some. We have some beef. I know we have some words. Ethan Winters. Ethan, what the hell, Winters? The special one.
Why does this keep happening to me?
Why is he so confused this entire game?
You'd think at some point he would at least kind of go, okay, you know what? I don't know why, but I expect this shit at this point.
I've been reading notes. There's notes everywhere.
Yeah.
But why am I so confused 90% of the time?
It happens
Dude's
so
just like
late.
a programmer or something.
It happens so late in the game that he does do that. He finally does have a tournament. It only takes place during Heisenberg's, really. And I just feel like that is just too far in. Like, you had to have something at least after the first castle. After the first castle, you were like not dealing with people's shit, especially since the second thing you deal with is fucking terrifying as hell. He, at a certain point, he had to grow a backbone, and he never does until finally, like, Heisenberg is the one aspect that he's like, I'm going to talk shit, and I'm going to continuously talk shit.
This is where I have the problem with Ethan Winters. Is that there's no character growth. The character doesn't sit down and like talk to like I just went through something that was very traumatic, especially through like a house or like Benevito's house, which was fucked up.
Yeah,
like that was straight up fucked up. I can't wait to talk about that because that was like, oh man, I can't wait. But like,
yeah,
you just went through some sort of crazy shit, especially even Lady Demetrice's house or a mansion.
Yeah, he fought a dragon.
Yeah, and he just gets up and he's like, all right, where do I put this key? Like, what the fuck, dude? What the hell just happened? What? Like, literally, what just happened?
You should be an expert at this point.
Yeah, you should be an expert. I get, like, once he talked to the Duke, and that's when he starts having, like, a meltdown a little bit. I feel like that should have happened a little bit beforehand. Like, what the fuck did I just see? And then actually, like, end cap it with that little meltdown that he had. But then even like knowing that his daughter is like her head is there, he's like, oh my god. The thing is, all right, where are we going now?
Yeah, so I will say that is probably the only scene, because after playing it a second time, it's the only scene to me that like is very affecting, because I would react in the same way that he's reacting. Like, what are you talking about? I'm holding by the way, your daughter, by the way, that's taken by this creature, she's split in half.
Oh yeah,
that you never see, but she's in flasks.
Split in 4.
Yeah, she's split in 4. Yeah. And which is so violating. And you find her head in a jar, and then you fucking have a breakdown for a second of like, what the hell? And the Duke's like,
you don't
she's
see the
fine.
head like that.
You don't, because you can't see anything inside the jar, but you know what it is.
Yeah, all you see is the name and
yeah, you see what it is there's a picture of it, but other than that, that's it. But yeah, that part is probably the only thing where I'm like, that to me, it should be the moment of him breaking to like, I'm done. I'm going all full on Ash Williams on these motherfuckers. But other than that, I just think that, what the fuck? Well, what the hell? The thing that he says constantly, there's a great part where you finally meet people. There's actual villagers in the game, and it's on fire, and this lady she falls to her death. And I swear to God, I could have swore he said, why does this keep happening to me? That girl just died. Like, what are you talking about?
I remember that because he was in the windowsill, about to leave, and he's like, "Why does this keep happening to me?
Why does this keep happening to me?"
Yeah, people just got massacred by a werewolf. Plus,
I don't think he
this
says
lady
me
died
though.
into the
I swear he
fire.
just says, "Why does this keep happening?"
Still,
I maybe it's just weird. It was just weird.
it just it just came melodramatic, and honestly, that's a small part of the bigger whole because overall, the game as a function is still good. As much as he is a cipher, and clearly he is a cipher. He literally is nobody. He is a creature apparently, and if that's their way of like describing like the way they get away with not having any character information or character detail, like he is not a Leon. He is not a Chris Redfield. Even if Chris Redfield is the toast of protagonists, he still fucking has some personality to him. Even in this game, this is actually the most I've ever liked Chris ever, which is weird because he's not in the fucking game for like a long part
Chris
of it.
is great. What?
Chris is great in this game. Like he is awesome.
great in-
Like the fact that I felt his pain. And I felt cool when I was in his first person mode. But yeah, this is the closest thing to that. Can we talk about the beginning though, and how did you feel? You said you guys hated the fight of like everyone rushing you, right? Which is the most.
God, I hated it.
Which
so
is the
much.
most RE4 of the game, in my opinion. Then of course the cash system for the most part.
Yeah, it's a very. The problem with the intro is that it doesn't do enough to get you ready for that, which is just like RE4. Like it doesn't do that either, but RE4 at least gives you enough to do it.
Sure.
In the sense of like if you go through one of the houses in RE4, you can bar things up. You got a shotgun in one of the rooms. You can go around. There's grenades. There's ammo. There's healing. All this other shit, right?
Yeah.
And in that initial village fight, you literally just have the dinkiest fucking pistol that takes like 15 shots to take out one werewolf in like the most claustrophobic little areas where like there's no way to like move around or juke around.
Yeah.
And they're fast as shit.
Yeah, they're
it's
fast.
like the fuck
Like,
is this?
If there are normal zombies, I'm fine with it, right? Because then you can actually juke around them and you can actually do something, right?
Yeah.
These guys are like full on, like fucking
Sprinting at
barreling
you.
down,
Yeah.
the towards you, and it's just like I don't know what. Like I sat there for like a good 20 minutes. I don't know what to do. I kept on running around, and then finally somebody I was streaming. Somebody in the chat told me, Crafty, one of my people in the stream. She told me, she's like, you have to just wait it out.
Yeah.
I was like,
Is it
how
just
do I
waiting?
know that
You
I
have to kill a certain amount.
Waiting.
You have to wait, or you have to kill a certain amount because at a certain point they
So,
start shooting fire arrows.
I did an
and you hear the
experiment.
big guy because they grab you at one point and then they throw you at one point.
Yeah,
they do that.
I did an experiment where I was just running around the map and nothing happened. And I was like, I ran around the map for like 20 minutes, like legit, and nothing happened.
If you have to activate
like 25 to 30 minutes.
Yeah. Wait, you mean running around
I
as
thought it
in
was
like
kill based because I killed a bunch of them and then it unlocked. Like I had to be at a certain spot.
you had to
like,
have-
you have to be by the river.
Yeah.
And I killed a bunch of them by the river, and that's where it triggered. Like I blew up the barrel, ran forward, and then it triggered.
Yeah, I think I killed. Well, I guess it might be different because in easy it was kind of not as bad, but in terms of doing hardcore, which was pissing me off, yeah, that definitely was it. I did had to kill quite a few of them because eventually I was OP because I had an unlimited ammo pistol, and basically a werewolf just comes in, grabs you, and all of a sudden you're outside.
Yeah.
So if you're in a building, they have a way to.
Yeah, they have a way to get it done. So
when I did it, I didn't kill any of them. And it took 25 minutes, I think, the entire thing.
Okay.
Just me running around in a circle. Like I just kited for like 20 minutes. I was like, this is boring. This is stupid. I don't like this.
Yeah, it's not fun.
Yeah.
No.
It's not fun at all.
Yeah, they definitely don't give you enough for it.
I see what they were going for, but like if it was just cut down by like 5 minutes, like if it was just like 5 minutes of you running around,
Yeah.
and like they grab you, they're like, oh, okay, I understand this. This is cool.
I thought that if you
like-
died, you would just would just go to the end, right? But no,
Yeah, I was
no,
about to
it's
say
the
that.
case.
If they-
No, you die.
I was just about
Yeah.
to say that if they had programmed it to where even if you failed, maybe you get a different cutscene if you lived, but if
Yeah.
you fail, then it should just play the normal cutscene. Like
Yeah.
you basically fail
Yeah.
in the cutscene anyway, so what's the fucking point?
Yeah, exactly. And
Also-
it's starting over every time. It's like, well, I got to do another 15 minutes of me just fucking running around like a crazy person trying to kite them.
Is it also just me that they never lived up to the promise of a lichen on a fucking horse later in the game?
Yes, I was so confused.
I was like, that guy knows how to ride a. Wait, it's riding a horse?
Yeah, I was like, I even said it. I was like, these guys know how to ride a horse? We're gonna see werewolves.
I was
and
down.
We never saw another. We
I
never
was
saw one.
totally
ever
down
again
for
after
it.
that.
I was like, I hope that werewolf like jumps off and like lands on me or some shit. Like, oh my
Kind
cool.
of reminds me of like Caesar from Planet of the Apes, dude. Like, let's go.
Yes.
I wanted to bring up to you guys. So what do we think of like now that we've kind of got the initial village stuff done?
Yeah.
The houses. I want to talk about the houses.
Sure. What house you want to start with?
Okay, let's
do we
do this. Let's do like their rankings and then talk about them. For the
Okay.
houses.
Okay.
What
for the main.
rankings for? Yeah, because
Yeah.
the way the game is structured, it's very much you have the initial. You get in there, you get to like the first castle, and then you realize it's basically like 4 sections of this big giant map. Right. That's where the game
Yeah.
kind of opens up. And each castle has its own unique kind of gameplay, unique kind of like way to fight the boss or way to fight the enemies that are within it. And yeah, I personally think they're all really, really well crafted. But we're gonna start with Harv. Harv, what do you said you wanted to rank them and talk about them individually, or?
So for me, the worst one out of all of them would have to be the Monroe one, because I feel like there was not really much to it. It was really just kind of not get eaten by him. Really, that's really it. And then once you get down to him, you just shoot him. Like then the boss fight starts.
Just fucking get him down. That's
Yeah,
it.
you just shoot him. I'm trying to remember what the third one was.
So
There
you
was
have Lady
House
Demetrescu's castle.
Yeah.
You have Heisenberg. You
Heisenberg.
have
Okay, yeah.
Heisenberg's
Heisenberg's
Benevito.
Yeah, Heisenberg's has got to be number 3 for me because I liked the aesthetic of it. The enemies were kind of cool, but I think it lost its touch after a while. Like it lost its cool factor because I think it went on for a little bit too long, in my opinion.
Mhm.
Number 2 is Lady Demetres's. Like this is like the difference between 3 and 2 is massive for me. Massive.
Mhm.
Number 2 is Lady Demetres's mansion. It is fucking amazing. Like the way that it is laid out, the puzzles that they put into the game, and then her chasing you with the 3 sisters and her as the 3 sisters as mini bosses as well. Mini bosses not very well done, but like it is what it is, right? They're just checkpoints, really. But man, it was like that place was awesome. It reminded me so much of like what I said before of the mansion and the police station. And yeah, the puzzles were done so well in there. And then number 1 is Benevito's house. Like that's an escape room. Give me an escape room. That's all I've wanted.
100%
in these games,
escape
man.
room?
Yeah, just give me an escape room that I have to figure out the puzzles that are inside the room already. You just have to find the pieces. That's it. And I loved that moment. I loved they took everything away. You have no guns, nothing. You just have to figure out where everything is, put everything in its place, and then a fucking big ass fetus is chasing you the entire time.
Yeah, that was the monster we were talking about earlier.
Afterwards,
It's like, there's fetuses in the game.
Yeah, and I was just like, oh my god, like
my God.
I was genuinely terrified for like 80% of that being in that house. That's how good they fucking nailed that. Because it reminds me of Resident Evil 7 with Jack. Is it Jack?
Which one? Like, what's the situation?
No, sorry,
Jack
it's
Baker.
the nephew.
Oh, Lucas.
Lucas. Yeah, with his little escape room that you have to do.
Oh, got it.
Yes, I was going to mention that too. Yeah,
It's very similar.
Right,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
very reminiscent of that.
Very
Yeah,
reminiscent.
they took
actually.
that, what they learned there, and then they threw it into a full-fledged area for this game. And yeah, that was my favorite part. I enjoyed it. And I hate fucking dolls, so that terrified me anyways at the end, where you have to chase her down and there's just laughing dolls everywhere, and it's like, no.
I have a question for both of you really quick before we move on to what Mario thought about the houses. What scared you more about Benevito's like castle? The fact that like in that scene you have a fetus kind of moving around. Actually, I think at this point you don't even know the fetus is around yet. But on the table there's no mannequin anymore. So you have the potential of like a fucking live mannequin kind of just stalking you. You know what I mean? That scared the shit out of me. Like the fetus, I can kind of like I look at it once and I'm getting the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
But the fact that like there might be a walking, weird, creepy looking mannequin in this dark black and red room, like just kind of like mine. Like, oh fuck, man, I'm not ready for this.
Especially if it had like that kind of like jerky movement as
Yeah.
well.
Oh, that like
It just
Oh, man.
it just needed
There's
to
so-
do
games like Condemned 2 does this, where they have a mannequin thing kind of move around and shit. It's so creepy.
It just needed to do a Five Nights at Freddy, just sort of like peek around the corner for the camera, and I would have been done. That would have been
No, I would have been.
that
I
would
would
have
have
been not cool.
started up A up B. But Mario, what do you think of the houses? What's your ranking here?
Yeah, I think all of them are very fun in their own different ways. Only because, like I said, how to me intrinsically tied they are to Universal Studios or Universal monster movies. But I think if we're gonna do the circle ranking, where we're gonna go from the bottom top, to me Heisenberg is at the bottom. While as much as I like the idea of sort of this man who's creating this army of Frankenstein monsters with industrial parts, it seems, and obviously him being sort of like a freak of science. I just think that was really cool, but it does it goes too far in certain aspects. I do like that it is a return to horror in a big, not return to horror, return into an open area that you have to explore and find the puzzles, because you kind of lose that after leaving Benevito and Monroe together. Like it's a traditional Resident Evil versus like horror like puzzle room and action set piece, right? So I like that, but to me it's still like the weakest part. I actually don't enjoy it in comparison to everything else. Same thing with Harv. I'm going to also go with then the action set piece with Monroe. I just think that while I love the idea of this creature of the Black Lagoon being this sort of moronic, like baby man person, like he's really fun in that aspect, and I love that he has to turn into this gross grotesque thing, because you need a gross grotesque thing in Resident Evil.
You need at least one.
At least one.
Yeah.
There's a few here, but that one specifically, I'm like, okay, it makes sense, for him to do what he does. But again, like you're saying, it's very much like a wait, all right, go figure out the puzzle. The puzzle's not hard. I will say, I know that you said that the puzzles were good. A lot of the puzzles are good ones. There are some that are just like, all right, fine. I can just to stop me from progressing forward. So for me, he's third. Second, this is where I swap with you. Benevito goes second, because while it is scary, it definitely, to me, because I loved traditional Resident Evil, that's the only reason why Dimitrescu gets the leg up, is because it is traditional. It is, you're in a mansion. You are exploring and unlocking doors. You're finding puzzle pieces and putting in places, and things are sinking into the ground, and like
Good.
all those stuff. Like you're falling through a hole and it leads you to an area, and you have to find your way back up, and there's a dumb waiter. Like all that stuff, I think is beautiful, especially when you get to the wine cellar and you just are hearing dripping and things that are falling in the water. Like, what is that? And then you see the puddle ripple, and then they're gonna bust out and scare the shit out of you. That was so much fun. When you first see the maidens for the first time, the way that they come at you, it looks so cool, because it's just dark and they're like the only way you see them is with your flashlight, and that the sort of start peering in, which is really cool. And then there's a bunch of them. That is a lot of fun. That's why I think that Lady Dimitrescu is number one, because it's just so iconically Resident Evil. And by the time I left it, I did feel a little sad about that, because I wanted more of it, because I want the big vampire lady as much as everybody else. But I thought that was like, to me, it was like, oh, that is Resident Evil. Now we're going on to a whole nother direction, and I think that's okay. We didn't even obviously talk about Miranda, because she's not really a house, but she's more just a boss fight.
Just a final boss thing that we kind of just deal with at the end.
But yeah. But that's where I'm at when it comes to those houses. Beautiful vampire lady.
Somebody joined the Discord.
That was B.
Oh, it's Fee.
Hey, what's up, P?
She's gone now.
Yeah, she's gone now.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, if I could, on my rankings here, just to be quick on this part,
No need to be quick.
I'm gonna go for Monroe.
Okay.
I really didn't like the chase parts of Monroe.
Sure.
I thought it was. I really do like kind of like the idea of more like the boat section, where you're like on a boat and you're like had a thing, because it's very Resident Evil 4 again. but the whole like hit a lever, this thing comes up, run over to this, then hit this lever. It was boring. It was dumb. It was more trial and error than anything, and it was cheap. It was honestly kind of cheap. And a lot of these bosses I had to fight twice, right? Because on hardcore, which was a fucking nightmare because you would miss these treasures if sometimes you didn't grab it. Like after Monroe, there's like a section that opens up and gives you the Magnum, and I'm like, where the fuck is this Magnum? But yeah, I'm gonna go with Monroe for number 4. Number 3, I'm gonna go with Castle Dimitrescu. I know people really like Castle Dimitrescu for it being Resident Evil, and I agree it is very Resident Evil, but it's very scripted. And I don't like that, where it's like there's very predetermined areas where there are enemies, and then you have a roaming enemy like Lady Dimitrescu who moves around. It would have been more fun if Lady Dimitrescu was actually interesting as she moved around, but other than berating you, she really doesn't do much. Her attack is really easy to block. Yep. She's really easy to get away from, and she gets stuck on a lot of the geometry in the game. And her and the sisters do
I've noticed that.
Yeah, she gets really stuck on a lot of things, and I'm like, okay, lady, you're like 10 feet tall. Just walk over the fucking table, like. Just, your knees don't your ankles don't your ankles clear the table. Come on. But no, she gets blocked on like everything. The sisters are probably the only interesting part I thought of, like what that castle was. And given I really still like the castle a lot. I know I'm saying things like, I don't really I found problems with it, but it's the like I don't know, it's too scripted for me to feel like kind of like Resident Evil 2 where you had Mr. X kind of follow you almost everywhere except for like very certain areas.
One thing I want to say about the thing, because I agree with you on a lot of your points. One thing I will say is like once you kill all the zombies that are around the castle, none spawn back again.
No,
like none of them come back. So I'm just running around this place freely, not worried about anything, as I'm just trying to get the loot from here, trying to hit the crystals from this room, trying to pick up whatever I can. Like I'm like leisurely doing this. Like, oh, I can look at the map. It's fine. I can just do this. So I feel like they might have missed the mark on that one. So at least like respawn zombies here and there or something. And like give them like low drop rates of shit. Like just they only drop money and that's it kind of type thing.
And if Dimitrescu is actually kind of like speedy, I would probably be a little bit more scared. But she's like, I know she's supposed to be very regal, but at the same time, it's just like Ethan, even at his like lowest speed before upgrades, can still run way past you and get like really far away. Like the sisters were really cool, or the daughters, I mean, were really cool. Yeah, because they would kind of just appear out of nowhere. And that's what was scary as shit. Because I'll be running down a hallway and then you see the flies and you're like, okay, going the other way now. Whereas when you see Lady Dimitrescu come through a door, you're like, okay, I'm going to walk over to this table. You're not going to be able to go across it. I'm just going to go into a big circle. And that's the thing about like stuff like the castles and stuff like that. It's all generally just a giant circle. Because if you don't have a giant circle, you're going to get cornered. And if you get cornered, then you're not going to win against a roaming AI like that. Yeah. So it feels very scripted to me, and that's why it's kind of more number 3 to me. But I do appreciate the early Resident Evil feel that they brought in. It definitely feels better as more of a story point than a gameplay point for me. And then number 2 for me is definitely going to be Heisenberg's lair. I really like Heisenberg's lair. It's built on this constant unknowing atmosphere, where you're going to have enemies randomly just show up in front of you, and they're very hard to kill. Like, you have to be very precise, and even if you're precise, they might not flinch, and they're constantly just, like, slowly, like, robot moving over to you, and it would feel less scary, obviously, if they were just robots, but they have faces, you know what I mean? You could see, like, the people under it, and it's so creepy, and you just see them, like, they're mindless zombies with like upgraded abilities. They're basically mini tyrants, and they even move like tyrants, by the way. Yeah, but it's totally up my alley. And having these more square kind of like long catwalks where you have these things constantly moving towards you, and then the lighting, the way they do it is like you could see them, but like there's like darker parts of them that you have no idea if that's a body or a body part, and you can't get close to them because guess what? They will beat the shit out of you. And then the progression between like the first one you see, and you get a note, and it says like these are the upgrades I've done to the Mark 1. And then later on you see another one, you're like, what the fuck? This one has armor on, like it's covering up its chest. Oh, this is the thing I did to the Mark 2. And then you see another one, it has even more armor on. You're like, what the fuck? And then there's a fourth one, and it has a jetpack. And it's going around, and you get a note. He said, I added jetpacks. It's like
It's
so
funny
great.
because like you see the enemies first, and then you see the note after, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh, that's what he did to these guys.
Yeah.
Now, because those guys, you know what those guys remind? They remind me of the Silent Hill enemies a little bit because of their rigid body armor and like their hands that they have for like that kind of stuff too. And yeah, I can see where you're coming from with that for sure.
Yeah, especially with like your first encounter is literally it sitting on the, it's very like if you remember the Resident Evil 4 regenerator, there's one that's like sitting in like the cryogenic room,
I hate you.
and
I
you
hate
go
that guy.
grab the thing and then it comes in. Right?
Yeah.
They do the same thing here where like you have to walk past it, you have to look at it, you grab the item, and then it wakes up.
It's like
Love it.
Yeah.
You know you have to go through it, and that's what I love about this game. It's like you're gonna have fears and you have to face your fears. But yeah, that's why Heisenberg's castles our factory technically is number 2 on my spot. And then finally Benevito. Oh my god, it's short. It's really short
very
actually.
short.
I think it's like
It is very short.
a 10-15 minute actual like encounter, depending on how long it takes for you to do the puzzle.
Yeah.
But man, I was getting old school Silent Hill vibes. I was getting PT vibes.
Yes.
Outlast. Like it felt like they definitely looked at a lot of these things and kind of figured out like what people really saw in stuff like PT and stuff like Outlast, and kind of just like put their own spin on it. And made it feel very Resident Evil. And I wouldn't mind a whole game where you don't even have a gun at this point. Like just give me a game where there's no shooting and stuff like that, and you're constantly just moving around. Castlevania. If Capcom did something like that, I would buy it. 100%.
That'd be a
Doesn't even have to be
perfect
Resident
VR game. Resident Evil VR
That'd be
game.
a perfect VR game. Yeah. Actually, I would love to play that scene in VR. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, we already said it here. Baby comes in. Ethan Winters is dead. Rosemary, I think, baby fetus comes in and just starts like chasing you. It has noises. It says stuff like "da da," and like you hear it as
leaves
you're running
a
away
residue
from it.
on
You
the
hear
ground.
the sliminess of the ground. You know what I mean? There's a part where you have to hide under the bed, and you see the hands move, and you're like, "Oh fuck!" I think it was one of the first. This is a big mechanic in Outlast where you have to like hide under beds and like inside lockers and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever felt as terrified in that game as I felt during that scene. I was like, Jesus Christ, this is nightmare fuel. And then you have to kind of get out and run away from it. Or even the elevator thing where you open the elevator and you see it coming up, and then you look behind you, it's right there. So you're like, fuck, I gotta go around. Again, I don't like the idea of like just the map being a giant circle for that reason.
Yeah.
But I think it was done well enough because there's certain parts that become literally pitch black at that point.
Yeah.
And with the idea that there might be a roaming mannequin running around,
Yeah.
that's absolutely terrifying. And that's what I want in a game. I want, as somebody who plays all these horror games, at some point these games just become like you don't really care anymore. Like these monsters don't mean shit. It's that constant elevation of fear that I really strive for with these games, and that game gave me a fucking terrifying feeling the whole time. Or that castle gave me a terrifying feeling the whole time. The dolls are okay, but yeah, definitely the initial part to that was really good.
I will say it is, if you don't find that doll right away, you do get attacked by dolls. And I think you can't.
Yeah.
And you
I died once.
Oh, I've done. Yeah, that was like, oh, this is not cool. I don't like that. That's not fun.
Yeah.
Because in easy,
I
it was
thought-
like, okay, I found all of them, and then
Yeah, I thought, and plus, what I did also notice is that the doll that you have to find is in random places too.
yeah,
Mhm.
So it's not
It's different
always
every
in
time.
the same place. Yeah, it's different every single time. Because I watched somebody else play that same scene, and the first doll was not where my first doll was.
Mhm.
It was in a completely different room. And yeah, I thought it was like where I was walking, the dolls would chase you. But yeah, it's just a time limit.
yeah.
You have a time limit.
Yeah, but the music ramps up a little bit, and then
Yeah.
100%.
Plus,
Yeah,
you can't heal yourself, so like
No.
this is.
If you hit it once, that too, you could just look around. There's like blood stains and stuff on the wall and stuff like that to kind of guide you where it
Yeah.
went this time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that part was really cool as well. But yeah, that's my rankings for the castle. Overall, I thought the houses were well done. I thought, they were creative. I understand they are just universal monsters at the end of the day, but I do like the spin they put on it to kind of keep it realistic within the Resident Evil universe.
Yeah, I agree.
So let's move on to our next talking point, which is going to be gameplay. What do we think of just the overall gameplay of the game, how the gunplay, the bosses, the upgrades, the inventory system? There's a lot in this game. There is tons of stuff to do. In the same vein as how Resident Evil 4 had, where you have treasures, you have upgrades for guns, you have hidden guns, you have all this kind of mini bosses, all that. Mario, what are you thinking about the gameplay here?
Overall, I think the gunplay is a lot of fun. There are definitely times early on when you don't have upgraded items. It does get a little frustrating, especially when it comes to the fire rate of something like the shotgun. Oh boy, it takes a while to cock for that next shot unless you don't have it upgraded. But once you upgrade that gun, I forgot what the name of the gun is, but I got the one that has the circle barrel and just ready to go.
Like WAC, I think
has 50 shots in it. I'm just okay, I'm fine. I'm just I'm just straight unloading at that point.
So it's automatic.
Yeah, so I'm just
because the other one's bolt action, right?
Yeah, the early on one.
Pump action. Yeah.
Pump action, that's what it is, yeah.
Yeah, so I think by the time you get to that gun, I'm just I'm having fun, just finally letting off shots. I did have one major issue yesterday, which was weird, which was for some reason I couldn't swap to the gun that feels the most broken is actually the grenade launcher to me, because for some reason there are aspects of it that either it it won't reload, and again, I'm playing on controller. Keyboard might be different. I'm not sure what the input was, but for some reason it just wouldn't reload when I wanted it to. Fucking reload, press the button, or switch to the ammo.
You know what? You know what the problem with that is that you have to ADS then reload.
Yep. That's ADS first, then hit the button. It doesn't tell you that.
It doesn't tell you a mechanic. It shouldn't work like that. Yeah. And that is also the only way to switch ammo as well. If you have ADS and then switch ammo as well.
Which it sucks because when you shoot it immediately says reload with a thing on there. And I'm okay, I'm pressing the button, and so that learning that is a pain in the ass. But once you get past that, that's fine. But otherwise, I have fun. I love the Magnum. Magnum's a lot of fun. I've upgraded all my pistols for the most part. I will say I think that the money system forces you to play the game in a way where you have to play a lot, or really definitely make sure you have all those collectibles, combined and everything, or whatever. But I know that you can sell guns, but if you sell guns, that means you have to buy them back later if you really want them.
And you don't need it. If you get a better shotgun, extra $200,000.
I know,
the
but
upgrades you put on it, it's pretty nice.
No, totally. But then again, I start getting attached to my shotgun because I've already upgraded it. So now I have to spend even more money to upgrade the other thing. So it's some things are annoying, but pro tip, if you're watching, I know you're kind of far already into it, but just, if you really like a gun, upgrade that sucker all the way through, and then it's you have infinite ammo for the next go around if you want to play it. But
do you have to keep it?
You have to. What
if you sell it?
If you sell it,
you probably rebuy it and it'll have.
But it has the price of what it is now. It'll have way overpriced than what it was originally when you could have got it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's just, if you keep it, you keep it. But if you sell it, then you have to pay that exorbitant price. So again, it's all up to you if you decide if you want to play it. To me, that's the stuff where I'm I don't enjoy it as much. No. Especially
it's the RE4 way, where you can get these guns again if you play through the game and get the mods for it. But if you sell them early, then you're gonna have to obviously do the work to get them back again.
Yeah, which it's fine. But those are the things that I dislike. The cash system, I'm totally fine. I know people really wanted the box, but I'm I don't think you need the box in this game. The upgrading to the bigger cache is totally fine. I have no
always
problem.
Get that first.
Yeah,
always buy upgrades.
Yeah, because I ran into the bolt action sniper, couldn't pick it up. I was fuck.
Yeah,
what am I gonna do?
Yep.
And then I just went through the entire area, and then I came all the way back up. It's okay, I bought the thing, and then all right, let's do it now.
Yeah, 100%. So that for that, I'm just just make sure you get that taken care of. But otherwise, gameplay is fun. The actual guns, a lot of them are fun. I do want to unlock more of them. But otherwise, I could give her less on the upgrades or how to buy them. I didn't care so much for that. Oh, we didn't even talk about the Duke, but we can talk about that later.
Yeah. Harv, What do you think about the gunplay and upgrade system and all that?
Gunplay, really, really good. I really enjoyed it. Same thing with Mario with the reload of the grenade launcher. Like, I don't understand why that's a thing.
It's so
Like,
weird.
I've never had that in a game before, but but I think the gameplay is awesome in this game. The way that all the guns feel, they all feel different. They all feel very distinct, which is awesome. The upgrade system, I'm in the same boat really, because like when you're upgrading these guns, it feels like you're doing something, and then once you get the new gun, you feel like you're taking a step backwards. And you're like, okay, well, let's start this upgrade again. It isn't a step backwards, though, because if you look at the stats, they are as good or better than what you had before. But it just feels like you're taking a step backwards because it's the new gun.
I can tell you right now from my experience, every gun upgrade that you get through the Duke is better than your fully, like close to or better than fully upgraded version of what you had before it.
Yeah.
So if you look at like the power, for example, of like the shotgun you get and upgraded by the time you get to the next shotgun that you can buy, you'll see that like the base shotgun damage is better than a fully upgraded damage.
I think they're going for that because they want you to upgrade to the next weapon instead of like, I'm one of those guys when I have one of these kind of games, when I have something that's fully upgraded, I'll never go to the next thing because I like this weapon. It's fully upgraded. It does more damage than
it fits your playstyle at a certain point, you know.
Exactly, right? Like that's how you play the game. So like, I'm glad they kind of make you do that. But like, does it like the last pistol look like a MAC-10 to anybody else?
It's
like a machine gun
Scorpion. So it's supposed to be fully. There's versions of the Scorpion that are obviously semi-automatic, but no, it should be like a fully automatic gun, which is why when I bought it, I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah, the shotgun, the last shotgun looks like an AK-47U.
Yeah, it's a Saiga 12.
Yeah,
I love the Saiga 12s are so cool, dude, with the little drum mag on it. Oh.
Yeah, I was just like, what the fuck? Yeah. But no, I think the upgrade system, it's the best I feel that they could do, honestly, with this
for a game like that.
Yeah, I feel like they did what they needed to do for it, because that was just kind of me to spend money on something because I was getting so much money. There is just so much currency in this game. They're just fucking throwing it around at you.
Yeah.
And you're just like, well, I got to use this somewhere, right?
Yeah,
I got to use this thing somewhere.
We're balling.
Dude, like,
at least if you go for the treasures and like kill all the mini bosses, you come out of that game, even after fully upgrading most things, like by the end of the game, like with like almost 400,000 fucking pesos by the end of it.
Yeah, you're fucking sitting there with like big ass axes in your pocket and just going to the Duke and be like, here you go. Give me 20 or 25 grand for this.
$25,000, please. And then I would go back and fight more of them. Like, I'm getting all this money, bro. Like,
but yeah, I know. I really like the gameplay. The upgrades are what they are. I am kind of on the fence about having a cache. I like the cache system a lot in the old Resident Evil games because it forces you to be more. It forces you to like think about what you want to take with you when you go through the game.
Yeah,
and this way it's like I feel like I never ran into space problems after that first initial gun that you pick up. The bolt action.
Never
ran into any more space issues whatsoever. I think I came out with like 20 spaces left by the end of it, right? And
they never have stuff for you to really pick up other than like obviously like the hunting stuff, like the meat and all that.
But that's the
it doesn't take up much.
And that's 2 slots. Your ammo's 2 slots. Your heals are 2 slots. It's the guns that really take up most of the spots.
Yeah.
But if you have a big attaché, it doesn't really matter at that point. So I kind of wish that they brought back the cache system, but I understand it. I understand why they didn't. I mean, Resident Evil 7 didn't have it, so why would they bring it into this one either, too, right? No, wait, Resident Evil 7 did have it.
It had a version of it.
Yeah, they had the cache.
Yeah, same kind of system as this, but like obviously more smaller scaled.
Yeah. But yeah, I enjoyed it, man. I thought this gameplay was satisfying. It was fun, and it is probably one of the biggest things that I miss not playing about this game. Like right now is because like I love getting headshots. I like just how the guns feel.
Oh, headshots and the
sounds. Yeah,
we're gonna talk about that. The
sounds of like, dude, one of the most satisfying sounds is you upgrading these weapons. It just sounds good.
Yeah.
Shooting the Magnum for the first time was like, oh
Yeah.
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 I
See,
need that
seeing
more
the
in my
big
life.
creature stagger, and I'm like, gotcha, bitch.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I loved the gunplay. I thought the gunplay was amazing. For what it was, I do like the more slowed down feel that Ethan has. In comparison to someone like Chris, who feels like they're barreling through everybody with their automatic weapon. It kind of feels like you have to kind of like think critically when you're kind of moving around as Ethan, as to like, if I'm backing up, is there a wall and am I gonna get cornered? When to actually like use your block attack, or just kite them instead. The gunplay was really fun in terms of just like getting headshots too. Like you said, just exploding people's heads was really cool, especially with the sound that they used in it. I'm just trying to think of like the other stuff too, because there was the food upgrades as well, which I don't really like.
It's my least favorite.
To be honest,
it's my least.
It was
favorite.
all right. It was cool to have like small little incremental upgrades you can do to Ethan himself, whereas like I upgraded my blocking damage all the way. So if I ever get into a situation where I needed to block, I just like block, and nobody could really do much damage to me. And then of course the health upgrades as well. But like the fishing and stuff is so missable.
It's so
Like,
missable.
I
had to
first
double back so much to find these fucking fish.
I sold chicken to the Duke, not understanding that
Yeah,
because
I did
that
the
wasn't an
same
option.
thing.
It wasn't an option yet, and then it showed up, and I'm like, you could have told me or something.
I read
I
the
told you
I read the
4 chicken
description.
pieces.
The description tells you like it makes like a recipe or something like that. That's why I was like, oh,
Probably.
okay, I'm not gonna sell
Yeah,
this
probably
then.
should have read.
I'm not here to read.
Read, fucking nerds.
As we read every single
Yeah.
fucking note that's
Yeah.
in everywhere.
Yeah,
cold calculating these notes with like a magnifying glass, like how does this connect to the other Resident Evil games?
yeah,
Yeah.
I need to know.
Fuck, there's recipes in this game. What?
Yeah,
fucking
why did Chris kill
recipes.
Mia? I need to know.
Yeah.
I did like the upgrade system. I did like that there were upgrades that you find within the world itself. So like if you put the effort in and like actually like took down like one of the big ass mini bosses, that you get rewarded in a very good way. I don't like that they were for guns that are very sellable later on. Because it felt like, oh, I took out this big boss for this fucking shotgun grip, but literally 10 minutes later, they're gonna give me a brand new shotgun. It's like, come on, man.
Yeah, the upgrading was hit or miss. I do agree with that. Yeah, it's hit or
Yeah,
miss.
just at least when they gave you the upgrades, it was very hit and miss.
Yeah.
Especially since you can max out a gun at a certain point, and then like you have to wait until the next story beat for the Duke to be like, "Hey, we have some new stuff for you."
Yeah,
What are you buying?
What are you buying?
What one of the best Easter eggs of this was when he says, "What are you buying?" A friend used to say that, and I was like,
Yeah.
That makes me really wonder what's going on within this Resident Evil universe, because
well, we're gonna.
right now we have Umbrella,
Yeah,
which is gone. We have not Neo Umbrella, which is another organization. You have Chris Redfield's Umbrella, and then you have like the Connection, which is like Ada Wong's people,
yeah.
and then you have whoever the fuck these merchants are. I have a theory that maybe they're just like, since these monsters have been around for so long, apparently, that maybe they're just like old school monster hunters or some shit, but they can't do it themselves, so they're aiding other people.
There's that. I've heard that the Duke is potentially another lord that is just disenfranchised, or he's disenfranchised because his customer base is being destroyed because of everything that's happening. Like I've heard of that. There's a sigil that's in his of an owl that could mean something later. And to be honest, if it's true that we are going to get a Resident Evil 4 remake, then maybe we're going to learn a little bit more if they decide to flesh that out, because we're going to see the merchant again very shortly. At least a new version of him, maybe, and we'll see how that plays out later.
Buying?
Yeah, or he could even, whatever a Dukeism.
Dukeism? Do we just make him like really kind of like just chilling out instead of just like standing there like a weirdo? He's like hunched over. It's
like, I have
staring at people.
I have a friend that loves to live deliciously. Just,
Oh, there you go. There you go.
I don't
Okay.
know, something fun like that would be really cool. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So bosses. I know we have some thoughts on the bosses. Just to lay it out here, we have Lady Demetresque's dragon monster. We have Benevito's kind of maze, which it's kind of a boss battle, but not really, because you're just progressing to beat it. You have Heisenberg's mech attack. It turns into fucking metal, like two Metal Gears fighting each other.
Oh man, that was so fucked up.
Yeah. And then you have Mother Miranda's spider monster. You have, and then Monroe. I forgot about Monroe's fish form.
Fish form, yeah.
And then you have a few mini bosses. You have very hairy werewolf man with a big hammer.
Big ol'
You
haggards.
have giant naked how-to basic with other giant hammer.
Yeah. They have them too.
There's a few mini bosses and stuff like that. But what do we think about, like, kind of the boss fights that we saw in the game?
If I can go first, I will say that I think that the boss fights were, for fundamentally the most part, were actually not that interesting because they're all very samey and very one note. There wasn't one that I'm like, oh, that sticks out to me the most, because it literally is just shoot the glowy bit or shoot the human part, or that, like, they're all the same. There's nothing to me that's intrinsically different. The closest maybe Heisenberg, because it switches up near the end, but again, it ends with just shoot him a bunch more. So but at the end of the day, I just think that the boss fights, probably, if I had to be very critical in the game, to me, they're the weakest element of the game so far. Other than it's like they have different things, like different skill sets. Like the Lady D one is probably one where, like, oh, if you're gonna really good with the sniper, there's that part where she just sits out there floating, and you just shoot the sniper at a bunch of shots. Or Benevito, like you said, is barely a boss fight. It's more of like a time battle to, like, find the doll.
Time attack.
And again, and Monroe again is very much like shoot him until he decides to get on top of the building and spray his shit everywhere. Like, again, I think they, out of all the like Resident Evil boss fights that I've ever fought, to me, they never, like, crossed the barrier with me. Like, I enjoy Jack Baker stuff, and a lot of his shit's annoying. I don't know. That's just my 2 cents on those specific monsters.
One of my favorite things about the Lady Dimitris fight is the lore that comes with it.
Sure.
I like bosses that talk during fights.
Yeah, me too.
That give you something about them while you're fighting them, and give you little tidbits of why they're doing what they're doing, or what their motivations are, and or what's happened to them to drive them to this. I guess that's all three of the same things, but that's why I liked her fight a lot. Monroe's fight is completely forgettable to me. I thought that fight was stupid.
Yeah.
Just like that entire area. Like you guys said, the Benevito's house was not really a boss fight. It's more like a time attack. You're just trying to stab the doll 3 times, the magic number.
Yes. The magic number of video games.
Then I don't know what the fuck happened with Heisenberg's thing. I don't know what, like, we just started flying. I just started flying around, and I was just like, this. Apparently, Ethan's a superhero now. Like, he can just land right on top of the thing that he's shooting, and then just, like, shoots. I don't know. It was very weird. Very weird. But yeah, the boss fights weren't great. They weren't great. But I think they end-capped pretty good areas. Like in the end, I think the areas were really good, and the boss fights, even if they lacked, the areas made up for that.
Yeah, Heisenberg becomes my favorite only because he has the best line in the game.
Oh yeah,
it's just,
I'm gonna murder that boulder punching asshole.
Yeah. So good. So good.
It's like, how does he know?
Well, he has the board.
The boulder punching.
He has the board where he has Chris's face, so he might know his history. And I'm like, I don't know how he knows about it, but yeah.
Do you think Chris Redfield just tells everybody?
100%.
Or do you think, like, all the enemy types of, like, the Resident Evil, like, canon, like, have a meeting every now and again? Just like, did you know Chris Redfield fucking punched a boulder against Albert Wesker? Like,
he's just sitting there. He's sitting there with a drink. He's like, there was a boulder one day. I was in my way.
Jesus.
Shovel was hanging from a thing, and
we know that
shit out of a boulder.
Yeah, we know that Chris Redfield likes to hang out in bars, so he's definitely told that bar story once or twice.
Oh yeah, just drunked out from Resident Evil 6.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you guys say. I thought the bosses were very. I mean, I always love to fight a giant boss, but at the end of the day, it's really kind of just the same formula. Find the glowy bit, shoot the glowy bit, until they go down, and
Yeah.
that's it. Dimitrescu would probably felt really cool because there was different phases to it, but at the end of the day, it was still just shooter until eventually
Like
she
she
stops
was the
trying to
only
hit you.
one that had phases,
Yeah.
right? Everybody else was kind of rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
Right? Hers actually had phases where like you would hit her, she would come back after a call, and she would destroy the shit that's above you.
Yeah.
So you had nowhere to really hide. And then once you did that, you had to go to the top, and then that little phase started, and then you actually killed her.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of layers to it.
It was the closest I felt to playing Skyrim again.
Yeah, it looks very Skyrim. You're right.
Yeah, I guess I've never played Skyrim. So I
Oh,
don't
you
know.
fight a dragon?
But-
That's how you fight a dragon.
So you fight a dragon in Skyrim, you fucking shoot it down with arrows.
Yeah.
But yeah, like like that one felt like like one rose, and everybody's just felt the same over and over and over. You're just doing the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Either they get aggressive or they don't, or like aggression is the only thing that changes. I feel.
Yeah. You know what would have been really cool now that I think about it? If this game, instead of giving you more modern weaponry, gave you a bow and arrow, gave you a fucking stone hatchet, like gave you some very medieval,
Yeah.
like old school weaponry.
Actual
that
silver
that you
bullets.
can upgrade to, like, you could have like an automatic bow or some shit, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
then towards the end of the game, obviously start giving you more modern day stuff.
Yeah.
How does Ethan find all these goddamn weapons?
He keeps them in his pocket booty hole.
Like just like this guy's walking around with a fucking
It's two
sniper
podcasts.
rifle.
It's 2 podcasts that we got pocket booty holes.
The pocket booty hole.
He's got a sniper rifle. He's got like 3 shotguns in his pocket. Like the lady Dimitrescu just have a fucking sniper rifle sitting in her attic.
I think she does.
Yeah,
I think that's
straight
where
up.
you find it.
That's where you find
in
it.
The fucking just randomly sitting in the castle.
Yeah,
I
just-
guess Lady Dimitrescu one day was just like, I'm just gonna shoot some people
Yeah.
from the top.
I
of this
believe it.
castle.
I believe it. I
Or
wanna-
either that, or it might even been Heisenberg. Maybe Heisenberg up there just taking pot shots at people.
She has a high
I mean, maybe at her,
vantage
maybe
point.
stop spying at her because he wants or even Miranda, right? Because he wants to try to kill Miranda the entire time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But one of the coolest things, one of the best things they added back to one thing I want to say about gameplay is I'm so happy they added the red and the blue things on the map for the rooms.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
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 Oh, there's
Oh, yeah.
so many missable areas in this game.
Yeah.
I'm
So
glad they
many.
did
I'm
that.
so happy they did that.
Yeah.
One thing I don't like are the crystals that are fucking random, like just
Random
randomly
in places. Yeah, that's pissing me off because I'm
because
like,
some of them don't glow. Like what the fuck?
Some of
Why
them
does
don't
it wanna-
glow.
And-
Yeah.
Some of them are very missable. Like
Yeah.
very, like almost too missable. Like there's a degree of missable you have to do. Like if you walk into a door, look up, and then be like, okay, there's one right there, because that's when you see it when you come back.
Yeah.
But like some of these are just like, no one's gonna fucking find this.
Yeah.
I'm surprised I even found it.
Dude, tell me about it. There's 20 of those goddamn lamp things, and I've only shot 7 of them. And I'm like, you kidding me? Like, I thought I've been everywhere. Where the hell
Yeah.
are you hiding these damn things?
Oh, some of them are in really weird spots. Like
Yeah.
Benevito has one that's like on the side of the house. You have to like walk around, and it's like in
That
like,
I found.
under a thing in the garden. Yeah.
That I found, yeah, because I was exploring the area before I went in the house.
There was the house with like the guitar or the
Yeah.
lute
Yeah.
that you had to get, and there's a crystal in there that doesn't glow. Fucking drove me crazy.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, what the hell? Where is this thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then on the topic of the little lambs, they make a sound, right?
They do
It's
make a
like
sound.
a little wooden sound.
Yeah.
However, whoever did this at Capcom, find this person in your staff. Whoever made the sound of the wind chimes the same as the lambs, you can go fuck yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there is like
The
by the
church.
church. If you go to the
Church.
church area where you see the first picture of Lady Dimitrescu,
Yes.
or all the other people, you hear the sound.
Yeah.
And
In the building.
there is one around, but you take it out and then you still hear the sound. You're like, am I missing something here? Like,
Yeah.
I ran around that thing like 40 fucking times, so I realized this. I walked up to this wind chime, and I'm like, oh, it's the wind chime. Like,
Shoot
you
the wind chime.
fucks.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Though that brings us up to like treasures. I know you're doing more of the treasure stuff on your second
Yes.
round, Mario, but what do you kind of think?
There's some cool,
of
like there's
these
the whole
treasures.
There's whole stuff that I did not even do that is awesome because like I missed it entirely, which means that there's so much more to explore in this world that I didn't know about. Like there's a whole, if you go back to the area where you're putting the flasks in, and then there's the bridge that leads you to the area that goes into Heisenberg. There is a bridge that you can
boat.
that you can go down with the boat, And then
oh my god, yeah.
yeah, you take the boat, and then it takes you to like a whole other area, to a familiar place. Both sides.
Both sides.
There's a familiar place that you go to as well, which I was like, awesome. And then there's like a cool underground part where you get some more treasure, or you get pieces to a gun, or whatever it is. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. I would have never thought to come back here. And the fact that this exists for only this reason, after you reach a certain point where you get a crank or a well thing, I'm like, oh, this is genius. So this is great. And then there's the stuff like if you go back to Benevito's, when you go back to that grave area, you see that there's something missing. That is clearly something you can put there. So then when you find it and you go back, you get a whole nother boss fight that you had a creature that I had no idea was in the goddamn game, which is a hairless version, I assume, of the Haggard motherfuckers. And I was like, what the fuck? And then I think I stumbled upon the second one, which was the meatpacking house.
Yes. So I thought that was an area you had to go to. I thought it was a story area. And then I got in there and I'm like, this is just a mini boss fight.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's nothing here.
Because there's a bunch of shit in there.
There's a bunch of shit. Just like a
There's
bunch of
free
meat.
ammo. There's a
Bunch of meat.
There's a treasure in there. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I think those are some cool stuff that you can discover along the way. The other thing is those fucking wolves, but not wolves. Whatever
You're
the
talking
fuck.
about the big dudes, right?
Yeah,
The big
the lion
big-
wolves.
The lion wolves
Yeah.
like with faces.
Like,
It's
you
a
go
really
to-
creepy grin.
Yeah.
If you go to, because there's one in the village, right?
Yes. The one
And
that you
there's
open the door
one-
to Monroe, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's one when you go up to the farmhouse.
Benevitos. Yeah. Yes. Oh, that one is a special boss because you get an achievement for killing that one.
Yeah, you get yeah.
Yeah,
That's like the boss of all bosses for that type.
For that type,
think.
yeah. And then there's another one
Yeah.
by Benevito's house, I want to say, that you can
I think I
believe.
thought there was only 3. But
That is the second one.
be
That
right.
would be the second one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it was a cool fight because I exhausted every bullet that I possibly had. And then finally I made like 2 Magnum bullets and just like, fuck this.
Fuck this. Pop 'em.
Just pop them.
I killed one of them with a knife.
That's awesome.
I don't know how I did it. I figured out the way to like cheese its movement. So like I would knife it and then it would do its attack, but I would dodge it and then knife it in the ass again. I just kept doing that for like 20 minutes. It takes a really long time on hardcore.
No.
It's a
but,
really long time on hardcore to do it.
I bet.
But it can be done.
but yeah, I love the little discoverability of things. The only thing that I don't enjoy, and it's because it's annoying because it's so early on that you see it, is the wealth shit. Because then it just means that I can't open it for a very long time until you get to the, I think out of Debitrust is when you finally get to do it.
No. There is that kind of, it's annoying as shit, but at least
Yeah.
they give you a good reason as to why, because those things have like treasures for items that you find later on.
Yeah.
Like there's one by Demetrusk's castle as soon as you come out.
Yeah.
And then once
You
you
can't
go
fucking-
past it, you can't come back to it. So then when you get the crank, you're like, well, fuck, how am I supposed to get to that? And
Yeah,
you realize,
the boat.
you need the wheel to get on the boat to get to that area to then get that thing, and then it gives you what you need.
Yes.
It's like, oh, it's actually really clever and good.
Yeah. That's correct.
Harv, what do you think?
Oh, which? Sorry.
I don't even remember what we're talking about.
I think
We're
we-
talking about the treasures and stuff.
I think we. I mean,
I was gonna say
the
okay.
mini bosses and stuff.
Yeah,
I think I
mini
outlined it
bosses
every
and stuff.
single one of them. That's why I was like, oh shit.
Yeah. No, honestly, I thought the mini boss encounters were a lot of fun. How they were all laid out, and it made you backtrack, which is something that I like.
Yeah.
It made you backtrack into places where you already were, and then you're like, okay, what else could be here? And then a whole slew of new stuff is just kind of there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I really enjoyed that. And like, you can literally miss weapons if you don't go everywhere, because I think the
Exactly.
Magnum is the same thing. I think you can miss the Magnum if you
Yeah.
You
don't
missed the
pick it
Magnum
up.
from Monroe's place, because Monroe
Yeah.
has the Magnum off to like a little area.
Yeah.
And there's that first Magnum. I haven't played the playthrough again, but I don't know where the Rocket Magnum is from Resident Evil 7, because it's in the game, and it's supposed to be like because every gun kind of has a upgraded version of it, and there is a rock. There's like
think you could buy it.
I
think you just buy it.
The Magnum from RE7.
I think it's just buyable.
I didn't see it in the inventory thing.
I'll have to look into it again.
But like, you could miss the GL too if you don't pick up, if you don't
you
open
can miss the grenade launcher.
Yeah, you could miss that
Yeah.
too. So like,
Yeah, you absolutely can.
yeah. So it's they reward you for exploration in that game, and honestly, I loved exploring that game. I fucking loved it. It's just going around in the boat and just looking for different areas, because there are different puzzles you have to also do, right? And it's really cool. and just them fleshing out the world was really, really nice. It was really, really cool. But honestly, man, I think I hate the last boss with a fiery passion in this game.
Go off.
I
I'll
think
let you have this one.
It is so poorly done, in my opinion. Like this, like it's one of those bosses where either you get, like, if you're on hardcore, you get hooped if you don't have enough shit. Like, you're screwed.
Mm-hmm.
You're literally
Yeah.
screwed.
Because we had two different experiences here. Because
Yeah.
I did the Resident Evil meta, which is upgrade the Magnum all the way, save all my bolts for the final boss. Final boss comes, just blast her with everything that I've been saving up, and then she was kind of dead.
Yeah. Mine was just like, I was struggling. The struggle was real with this boss. And like the thing is, like, I wouldn't have that big a deal if like at least some sort of health things dropped. That would be cool. Right? That would be awesome. But like the only thing that drops is ammo, and it's very scarce ammo at that. And yeah, I did not like the last boss at all. But that I think kind of goes in line with a lot of the bosses in this game. But
Yeah.
honestly, the mini bosses, the reward for me for mini bosses was like what you get afterwards, and I think that was one of the most satisfying things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before we
I'm a
like,
little disappointed that you didn't RPG any bosses in this game. Like, I think RE7 doesn't even do the RPG thing, right? It's just like Ethan just doesn't get the cool, hey, use this, and it's just like a fucking RPG that just blows motherfucker up.
no,
There's no cool Resident Evil
Where
moment
does
on
this
that.
fucking come from?
Where does fucking thing come from? Which I actually, before we close out, dude, I wanted to bring up one last thing that kind of came out with the Resident Evil stuff.
he does final rocket Heisenberg technically, but he has to like climb back into the thing and then shoot the final rocket to kill him. So he gets that.
Then he gets his heart taken out of his chest.
And then he gets his heart taken out. I did want to, before you totally end the show, really, what do you guys think about Miranda and her whole deal?
I mean, me?
Yeah.
Couldn't care to us.
I mean, I'll be real with you. I just fucked her up, and that was it. I was really kind of more gonna mention that like
her as a character
Rita was supposed to be in this game.
Yeah.
As a kind of like helper, but they kind of like nixed her halfway through, and I feel like that would have been a perfect moment right there to be like, hey, here's some assistance, and she was supposed to like throw you items and stuff like that throughout the game and stuff like that, like to kind of be your watcher.
I hope it was throughout the game. You just walk in and you're just like, hey, Ada's here. It's the last like 2 minutes of the game.
Well, she would be wearing like this giant plague doctor outfit.
Yeah.
And she would have like a crossbow. It looks so fucking cool.
But
they nixed
cool.
it due to like some story. Because Ethan's not really part of the Resident Evil universe. His only connection to the Resident Evil universe as a whole is Chris.
Yeah.
Other than that, he's kind of more of like a sidelined civilian character.
What? Okay, so before, do you want to do the boss? Or you already went through your bosses, right?
Yeah, I mean,
I
thought
just
they were
meant
all
Miranda as a
pretty
character. As like, did she
Yeah.
register anything to you?
No, she was just very like, to me, I understand her motives,
Yeah.
but she didn't have much time to shine by the end of the game for me to really kind of
Because there
Give a
wasn't
shit.
enough
get
of
scared
her.
or give a shit.
Never
Yeah,
shit
there
at
was
all.
not enough of her. I feel like they need to sprinkle her more throughout the game. Like, do a Sephiroth thing from Final Fantasy VII Remake. Sprinkle her around the game and show us what she's up to or what she wants to do and all that kind of stuff.
I
I
would
don't
have
even
loved
know what her
it.
powers are, to be honest.
I
with
don't
you.
understand her
even know
powers
what the hell she
either.
does.
Yeah, I would have loved if she was the girl that you meet up and that the father dies.
Yeah.
If she was throughout the game, that she was hiding in places and you had to like keep interacting with her and she kept feeding you things and telling you where to go in some aspects.
Yeah.
That would have been interesting because then it would have led into her character as a misleading person, because that's what she does in the very beginning of the game when she pretend. By the way, spoilers for Chris Redfield doesn't kill Mia. Mia's very much alive. She's just trapped in a dungeon somewhere. It's fucking
Still a 4
Miranda.
out of 10 though.
She's still a 4 out of 10. It ends up being Miranda. Miranda's also the hag, which was a cool. I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense, because she fucking kills a guy and disappears when the hag's there. I'm like, aha, you bitch.
I agree with you, Mario. Though that would have been a really cool moment with if she was like the character that you meet early on.
Yeah.
I
The
do want to
anti-Zoe
bring
character.
one thing up to Harv while we're here too. Harv, in the beginning scene of Resident Evil, I noticed this the first time around, which it's kind of either a giveaway to the what's actually going on or a kind of like foreshadowing of the game. But in the beginning of the game, if you remember, you go into the village and there is a old guy in a house, right?
Yeah.
And he gives you a pistol.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And that old guy gets fucking killed. Right? You go down you get pushed down into the basement by a monster, and you see all these dead bodies.
Yeah.
one of the cool things I found kind of weird, and I had no explanation for it, I don't think anybody really talked about it, was that the body that falls, because there's a body that falls afterward, right? That's Ethan. It's literally Ethan's face, his hair color. It's Ethan, but with wearing that guy's outfit, which there's no payoff to it, and I don't get why they put it in there.
Is this a legit thing?
Yes,
it's his model. We don't know who his face looks like.
I'll send it to you after the show, or we can put it up here. I'd sent it to Mario the other day, but it's a picture of Ethan with his model kind of up, and then there's the picture of the guy on who's dead, and it's literally 1-to-1 the same exact character model.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So that's also what I want. One thing I want to talk to you guys about is
the big twist.
Ethan being dead the entire time.
Makes sense, right?
From Resident Evil 7.
He's just a normal guy. That's the thing. Like, he was a normal guy who got involved and got killed, and unfortunately, he's just another. It's a unique way of looking at the Resident Evil universe, because he's not a Leon, like you said, Mario. He's not a Chris. He's not any of these characters. He's just a normal guy who went to go save his wife, got fucking killed, and now he's just kind of. He has special powers, but they haven't really kind of manifested yet.
Well, his special powers is to fucking get killed a lot and not die. Like, that's his special
Jack
powers.
Baker powers.
Technically, he is dead. Technically, he is
No,
dead.
I meant get his hand cut off and then put back on somehow. And we're just supposed to accept that.
Exactly. Okay.
And then in this game,
which makes sense.
Well, hold on. In this game, he gets his arm and jacket cut off. Yeah. He pours some shit on it, and the jacket is fine too.
Yeah.
So it's like,
just thought it was whatever shit they had. Like, what the fuck is this?
How did you? Yeah. So in logic to the twist, it makes sense now. But yeah.
Yeah. I just want them to be like the board meeting. How do we like talk about the magic juice? You know what? Just tell everybody he's been dead for a while. The magic juice will just make sense.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense because he saw Baker do it to him, right? And then it's now apparent that this game kind of maybe had all this other kind of, maybe not the whole village part, but at least the story beats as to who Ethan is and what's going on in terms of like the Megamycete hive mind idea.
Yeah.
With Evelyn and everything. It's still kind of confusing of how Ethan wasn't controlled by Evelyn or anything like that. I think he's just kind of his own free spirit.
Yeah,
but at least
being
you now know
somehow.
Jack knew at the time that he is now a molded as well.
Yeah, at some aspect of that, which was cool. I think that's all interesting and cool. I mean, I like the fact that, because it doesn't make sense, right? If you play this game and if you play it a second time, it does not fucking make sense how that man's moving around, because he gets stabbed in the leg, he gets hung by his hands at one point, he gets ripped through.
Yeah,
he gets
some juice on it. He's fine.
He gets eaten by everything. Like in cutscene, not even like in you accidentally get bitten by something, which usually in my mind of the game, it's like, oh, it happens, but you're not really infected. It's like just a what elusive narrative kind of thing, or just it is what it is. But in story, he gets destroyed, like stabbed to death, like all these things that doesn't make sense of why he's still moving. But when you make it in the context of like, well, it's because he's dead and that he's healing because he's a molded thing, and I'm like, okay. I just wish that all this, because I love the part where in the scene where he looks at his hands and his hand's back, and I'm like, oh, cool. I actually would have liked it if his hand grew back in the other half of the game, but it's still gone.
It just came out like fucking Deadpool, just started a baby hand.
Something, I don't know, like something. I was like, he's more accepting to his whatever his fate is, because he clearly is like, fuck, I'm going down with the ship with everything else because I don't feel so good. Or is he? Out of here. Or is he? As we should talk about, but yeah.
No. Reminds me of Bruce Willis, Sixth Sense. That's what it really reminded me of. He's been dead the entire time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get to the kind of closing final thoughts here.
Mia, fuck the dead guy.
And as well as kind of talk about the ending of the game. So just to kind of summarize the ending here. Ethan fights Miranda.
Mother Miranda.
Mother Miranda. After realizing from the Duke that he has been kind of dead the whole time, he's been molded this whole time, and his body's starting to break down. You start to see his skin starting to turn gray and crumbled, kind of like how the Bakers looked once you killed them. And he fights Miranda, he gets Rose back. He I should probably mention that Chris also, like, is turtleneck Chris, also went in and found the Megamycete like heart, I guess, and planted a bomb on it
with a knife.
Yeah, with a knife. He just like fucking like throwing knives a fucking bomb to a giant Megamycete heart, and then they realize that the BSAA is also here, which is confusing because before this, you kind of know that Chris Redfield is part of the BSAA, so you're like, what the fuck is going on here? Ethan fights Miranda, walks out with Rose, meets up with Chris, and Chris is like, we gotta go, man. Chris is really trying to save this man, but Ethan gives him Rose, and he gives him the jacket, takes the detonator, walks right into the last parts of the Megamycete, as I believe Miranda is coming back again. Like she wasn't really dead, but she's kind of like, turning into super mutant levels of things. And then he explodes himself as Mia, Rose, and Chris are flying out, with Chris giving the final words of the BSAA are using bio weapons as soldiers.
See a body.
We need to go to Europe to stop them. And then scene ends. Let's kind of talk about that first.
Yeah.
What do we think about that ending? Do you think by the end, at least, Ethan was a little bit more redeemed? What are our thoughts?
I mean, I was already there for the journey, so it was totally fine. Like I said, I was there for the journey when I knew from the jump that Chris was killing Mia. And I'm like, why? I wanted to know why. And when I got my answer, ultimately at the end of the day, I was satisfied. I was satisfied with what they gave me. The fact that it wasn't exactly, up in the up and up, and Chris wasn't actually a bad guy. I perfectly think I got my resolve there, and Chris's remorse at the end of it all, I enjoyed. Now the whole Chris Redfield BSSA shit is so confusing, especially if you played the end of 7 and he has the blue umbrella logo. But then me and you, we went back and forth till like 4:00 one day just for trying to figure shit out. He's like part of a squad that is in the BSSA, but not really. He's like
a splinter squad, and
but now the BSA is has dead people, like actual zombies, which was cool. It looked exactly like the old zombies as soldiers. So it's like that's getting money, but at the same time, all right, at least that's a direction they could go. We'll see where that leads.
Maybe the idea is to do more of old, kind of a middle ground between old school Resident Evil and new school Resident Evil, with maybe some more characters now that they finished Ethan's story.
Yeah.
Harv, what'd you think of the ending?
I was fine with it. I was under the impression that Ethan was not gonna make it through it anyways. After we learned that he was dead the entire time.
Yeah,
I just figured that he can't leave this place now. He's not going anywhere. He's gonna die where that was gonna be. The more intriguing thing is so during the ending, I really loved Chris's section. I think that was an awesome section to have, and seeing Chris having so much emotion in this game, of seeing him even when the Monroe shit was happening, seeing his emotion at that particular moment. And then when you actually go fight Heisenberg and seeing that, and then you see him at the very end, him just hitting the wall of the helicopter and be like, he did that so we could get out, kind of type thing. It was good to see that, because you can see some character progression or character growth. Everybody has character growth in this game except the A character. Everybody has character growth.
Even Mia
which is
somehow.
Cool.
She goes from a 4 out of 10 to a 5 out of 10.
Yeah.
Hey man, that RE engine, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the RE engine, right?
They gave her some more pores.
Yeah,
Lord.
But the whole BSSA stuff, I just don't even understand that shit. So until somebody gives me a TLDR, I even watched a 3-hour video on Resident Evil lore of all the Resident Evils, and by the time we got to 5, I was like, what the fuck is going on?
If you have the tragedy of Ethan Winters DLC, there is
Yes.
there's a document that does explain things way better. But you have to,
Give
it's
you
more
a
reading.
quick TLDR.
It's more
After
reading.
7, Chris was just like, you guys are weird, and then created his own group, and the BSAA kind of know that he's being weirded out by them, so
Yeah.
they're kind of they're at kind of odds a little bit, but they're not necessarily broken up, I guess.
I think the main questions I have now, the main thing I want to see. Mario, you're gonna say something?
I was gonna say Chris Redfield's starting Outer Haven.
He's starting his own Outer Haven.
One thing I'm very intrigued to see is where they go from here.
Exactly. I
What
think we're
they
going back
do-
to normal Resident Evil.
What they do with 9,
Yeah.
right? I like they have these two parallel things happening with 4, with like 2, 3, 4, and then with 7, 8, and then 9. I really want to play as the daughter, as Rosemary,
Sure.
but I don't know how that would work in a Resident Evil game because she has a lot of powers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder what the extent of her power is, because she seems really strong. But then again, we have characters like that within the universe, right? They're kind of more sideline characters. Though you have Sherry Birkin, who at this
But
point
that's what I mean. Like I'm talking about a
Wesker's
main
kid.
character, like you play through the game, right?
Yeah,
We
like
have these
you play
characters-
as Sherry in 6.
Yeah. Oh, it's 6. Okay, 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have superpowered characters within
Yeah,
the universe. You have
Wesker's
Jake,
kid.
you have
Yeah.
Sherry. Now you have Rose Winters. You know, all these other characters, like basically kind of mutated people fighting for good.
Yeah, because they said the father's story is done, so I'm guessing we're gonna go to the daughter now when it comes to Resident Evil 9.
I mean, why would you
Giant
introduce her
timescale.
older? You know, I mean, it's curious of how they're going to go about it. And again, I'm curious if it is a time skip because who knows? Maybe that person just aged dramatically. Like, it'd be weird, but it could happen. But
Yeah.
because Chris, we know that Chris Redfield's around because that would be also kind of interesting. But
Yeah,
I
like, I
don't
wouldn't mind a
know.
game with just Chris
is it
Redfield, too.
is it spoilers for WandaVision? Is it a WandaVision situation where they just age dramatically? I don't know.
But yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'd
by
love
the
to see more of the original cast kind of show up again. Like,
I
give
would
me
too.
another Leon game. I think his time is now.
I
We
will
just had it,
say,
Resident Evil 2.
I will say it's
years.
I do love Resident Evil in the sense that things could move on to other people like it kind of did, even though we keep circling back to the same 4 people. I did like the fact that Ethan Winters was a new protagonist, a new thing going forward. And if they were going to do that continuously, I would enjoy that. If we're going to remake stuff, then yeah, of course I get to revisit all my old friends. But again, who knows? I'm open to anything at this point. You got me with 7, even though I didn't play it first. I watched Frank play it first. I played it literally this year for the first time.
Me too. I played it for the first time this year.
Yeah, and then this I was like gung ho for it, even though I was a scaredy bitch the whole time. Yeah, I loved it, and I played on my PS5. It looked fantastic. I had a great time, so I was happy to be my first like next gen game, even though there's a PS4 version of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we played it on. At least I played it on PC. I still think ray tracing in that game's a fucking meme. I think it only works in like 2 scenes, and then I'm like, yeah, I don't really care. I'd rather have the extra FPS boost at this point.
sure.
Yeah, I played it on PC as well. It ran really well for the card that I have, so I was really happy about that.
No. But yeah, any kind of closing thoughts or anything like that before we head out of here?
I'm excited for more Resident Evil. Give me more Resident Evil. I'm going to watch that cartoon that's going to come out on Netflix. I'm going to watch obviously the movie and the other television show that they have. What about Wesker's Kids that's coming out? So
Yeah,
give me
with
more.
Jake and all those people.
Yeah, just give me more. I'm excited to see how this progresses and whatever comes next year. Give me the VR version. Really excited for Resident Evil VR. That's gonna be fun. And yeah, I think the future is not only for Resident Evil, the future for Capcom is never been brighter. Every game, I want to specify this. Every game since the launch of 7, because that's as far as back my memory goes. What was it? Street Fighters 5, but people had problems with that. Since 7, they have knocked it out of the park. DMC 5, the Resident Evil remakes. Knocked it out of the park. Perfect releases in terms of game. I don't have to worry about patches being broken.
No.
Incredible.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever encountered a glitch in DMC5 or even I honestly I know there's some people who encounter some glitches in RE8. I did not encounter one. I never had one part of the game that was broken. I never had anything happen. I literally went through that game and it was 100% perfect.
Yeah.
And it's something you do not see in the industry today. And then of course the RE engine. Oh my god. the RE
God,
engine.
the RE engine is so fucking beautiful.
Yeah,
Like
so
this is probably
fucking good.
one of the best engines that I've seen a game company have.
Mhm.
Out of a lot of people, like especially if you're making a game this size as well, it's crazy. The only time I had a problem was when I first launched the game, it crashed on me. Other than that, it never gave me any problems after that.
I think about it. Did it crash on me the first time I played it? Like, it's like
I-
It was
you
like
hit
at the
start
menu.
and then it
You had
like
start,
yeah.
yeah.
My
You
only-
start
I
is
think
where
it did the
crashed.
same
Yeah.
thing for me now that I think about it.
Yeah,
The
when I
only-
hit start game, it crashed.
The only issue I ever had was a character got clipped into the world, and then I just shot him and he died. That's it. And then I got a treasure. And I was like, that's fine.
Yeah.
But that's one instance out of 2 playthroughs.
I am so excited to see where this series goes. Give me more in this story. Give me more of the remakes. Fucking go.
Let's go.
I'm in. Let's go.
I'm in.
I'm in. I need more Resident Evil. They can't. They literally cannot put enough Resident Evil out.
We're all playing Reverse, right, guys?
Yeah, no. I'm sorry. They're really good single player experiences, but their multiplayer is. Capcom, just stop.
Okay.
Stop.
Stop trying to shoehorn multiplayer into
Resident
this.
Evil does not work as a multiplayer game. However, I will say if they made another Outbreak, I would probably buy the actual shit out of that. It doesn't work as a PvP multiplayer, is what I'm trying to say.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, I can't wait to see the future of Resident Evil, and I thank you guys for coming in, talking your Resident Evil shit. I'm glad you both really like the game because this is a series I really hold near and dear to me. I love every single one of these games, and to see my friends finally start to get into it, especially you, Harv, because I know you just started with 7, right?
I know. I've played the old
Okay.
Resident Evil games. I played
Have
1,
you?
2, 3, and 4.
Oh, okay.
And
So
I
you
played a
already
little bit
know.
of 5. Yeah.
So you know.
I haven't played 6. The thing is, I had never played 7 up until now.
Got it. Okay.
That's what
I
it
thought you
was.
started with 7.
No. I've played 1, 2, 3, and 4. And 4, I think I'm looking at it with rose tinted glasses right now because I don't know how it plays now. And I'm very intrigued to see how this remake's gonna be.
I had fun with it. I played it
Oh.
I played last year, and I had good fun with it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I played it like 3 months ago. It still holds up.
There's
It
still
always holds up.
there's still
I'm excited
goofy
for-
shit in it, but it's still goofy. That's fun.
Yeah, I'm excited for when it comes out for the remake. But like 2 was one of my favorite games in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Because that remake, they fucking nailed that remake.
Yeah, it did.
2 was such a good game when it first came out, and then this game came out, and I was like, oh my god, this is what I want out of Resident Evil. This is everything that I want from a Resident Evil game.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I played them, but 7 was like my first run into like this first person thing because this game came out in 2017, and I just played it this year, getting ready for Resident Evil 8, and I'm in.
Yeah, that's great, man. That's great. Well, thank you all for watching. I hope we gave a very good idea of what we thought of Resident Evil 8. But yeah, let's do some plugs. Harv, where can we find you, man?
You can find me at Beard and the Hair on everywhere: Twitch, Twitter, Patreon, and then you can find me on YouTube at Beard and the Hair Gaming, where I'm putting up videos of all different kinds of things. My next video that's going to be coming out is going to be about Resident Evil 8, and I'm really excited about it. It's going to be about Resident Evil 8 and about like their transition into like this whole first-person thing, and yeah. And I'm going to be doing a little review on Resident Evil 8, kind of reiterating what I've talked about here, just in a shorter
Sure.
way.
Awesome, man. Awesome. And Mario, where can we find you?
You can find me obviously at Point in Progress, where I run the board and have so much fun with all my friends. But you can also find me at my new podcast / show on my YouTube channel at youtube.com/thatmarioRivera. It is called Halo Forever, where I get to talk about Halo and all the fun things. And
There's a little baby needler. What
it's-
is
yeah, there you go.
again? What the fuck?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen Master Chief hold one of them motherfuckers? They're like
oh, man.
this big. They're like huge as shit.
This is the training wheels one.
This is the training wheels one. This is the training wheels
grunt
one. Yeah. So you can find Halo Forever on audio podcast and also at my YouTube channel. So definitely check that
Oh,
out.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You can
$6.
find me at Point in Progress, where I shoot the shit with these other 2 very beautiful gentlemen. You can find me at Twitch at Kestrel1A, where I talk my shit. And you can find me at so is it Twitch? Yeah. No, Twitch is where I will be streaming Resident Evil Deadly Aim.
Oh no.
I won't. Good luck finding that game for one, and two, good luck finding a light gun for that game.
Fair enough.
But you can find me at Twitter at KestrelRene, again, where I talk my shit. I give my spicy takes almost every single day at this point now. But thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for the support for Point in Progress and everything. I know we've gotten some a good amount of subscribers in the last few days, and we really appreciate it. And I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Bye. Or do we do the progress has been made?
You can. Oh fuck.
Progress has been made.